Welcome to another episode of Mad Max Garage, where we'll be working on the C10, figuring out the rear yoke for the 4L80E. We're doing a bolt-on yoke, fixed yoke conversion to a slip yoke, and we're doing it the cheap budget way that probably cost me a whole 30 cents worth of wire out of the welder. Alrighty, here's our bolt-on, also known as a fixed yoke, off of the 80E in the C10. And I'm going to be welding a washer in here, like this. And then I'll fill the hole in with weld to make it oil tight so no oil comes out. And that's how we're going to make this fixed yoke become a slip yoke. Okay, washer is welded and the center's plugged up. My stupid welder was like having an issue. It kept stopping, like feeding the wire for some reason. So my welds are all stupid looking, but we should be good to go. I'm gonna shine my flashlight through it, see if I can see any pinholes in it, but I think we'll be good. Alright, while the yoke is cooling off, we're going to be looking at the output shaft of this 4L80. And on a fixed yoke, you got the bolt going through here to hold the yoke on. And they have this O-ring here to keep the oil from going through the threads, well, the splines. So, since we're doing slip yoke, we need oil on the splines. That way the yoke doesn't get seized up. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull that O-ring off, and we're going to leave it off, just like your average slip yoke transmission, because we need oil coming in, splashing around on these. That way the yoke can freely slide when we're hitting bumps. So, let's get to it. Okay, I just wanted to show people this real quick. This is the 80E tail housing here. And there is a lot of people that I've seen on the internet, on Facebook and all, say that you can't do this because the slip yoke is too short. Okay? Now, they are correct. If I was doing this like on a full-size, well, it is a full-size Chevy truck, but it's lowered like 6 inches in the rear. So my rear axle is only going to be moving like maybe 2 inches on a major bump. 2 inches axle moving is probably only about 5/8 of an inch sliding, maybe-ish. Half of an inch of sliding in on a bump. But I just wanted to show y'all this. Okay. There's the bushing. Obviously. Here's the seal. Okay, ow. Alright, she's still hot. Okay, I'm gonna put this yoke in here. Okay, if this thing was bolted in with the tail housing, it would literally be that much clearance right there. Okay, I'm gonna turn this thing around without burning myself here. Look at how much yoke is going through that bushing. Here, I'll show you how much exactly. Okay. There's your marker right here. Okay. I'm going to push the yoke out from the inside until it's level with the bushing. Okay, right there is level with the bushing. So that's like, if I had my measuring tape, like what, an inch and a quarter, inch and a quarter, inch and a half. Well, let's see, the shiny spot's about an inch. That's like another maybe half inch. So there's an inch and a half of yoke travel with it flush inside of the bushing here. See, there's the yoke flush with the bushing right there. So maximum travel is inch and a half. Now, I need to look it up again, but I think minimum yoke travel is supposed to be like 5/8, I think. 5/8. I think. I'll have to look it up. I'll try and look it up and put it in the description of this video for anybody who's trying to figure out yoke bottoming out clearance, like how much play you need. So, but I think I'll be okay. Like I said, the truck is dropped like 6.5 inches in the rear, like 6 inches. It's a flip kit, Ford 9-inch with spaced out off-road style 4-wheel drive spring purchase. It's on jack stands right now. The front is still stock. The front end needs to drop. But I don't think my rear end is going to be bouncing that much. Okay, so tail housing is bolted up. And I put the yoke back in, and I drew this line at the edge of the seal. So that's like, when this line is level at the edge of the seal, that is exactly where the yoke is level with the bushing in the tail housing over here. So right here, right there is the yoke all the way in the bushing. Now I got my measuring tape and I measured, and from this line to the end of the yoke is 2 inches. Overall, this is a 3-inch shaft. And I did a quick Google search just so I could add it here in the video. And I just looked, like, the first thing that popped up was like a Mustang message board and a Mopar one and an F-body one. And the Pro Touring, I think it is. I think it's the Pro Touring, like, yellow bullet form. And all of those car guys are saying you need at least like 3/4 to 1 inch of travel from the edge of your yoke to the seal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this sucker in. This is actually a grease line, by the way. That is, well, it's not a grease line. I guess it's like where the seal is rubbing. So I'm going to run this thing in. So that's 2 inches in. This is 1 inch out. I'm probably going to run it like right about there. So I'll have it about 2 1/4 in, and I have about 3/4 inch of travel right here. That should be good to go. Now, I'm sure this will work great for your car or lowered truck, but I would not ever recommend this for a lifted truck, because a lifted truck has way more travel, obviously. Because as you can see, my C10 has a Ford 9-inch rear end, and it's flipped. And I think this sucker's going to hit the bed or the frame before the yoke slides out. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't have much travel here. I'm going to have little rubber bump stops over here. So the rear end is only going to move about 2 inches. And out of those 2 inches, I don't think it's going to be slamming the yoke into the transmission. And then at full droop, I don't think the yoke is going to flop out. So for my setup, this will be okay. So y'all, whoever wants to do this, where you're welding the back of your fixed yoke to make it into a slip yoke, y'all need to think about that. How is your setup going to work? And is it lowered? Do you not need a lot of rear end travel? You know, these are things to think about. So that's where we're at. Now I just need the conversion U-joint for the, because this one uses a slightly bigger one. So I need to get the slightly bigger U-joint conversion for my drive shaft. So there we go. 80E and a 5.3 and the 9-inch rear end. That's my drivetrain in the C10.